Hi. Happy New Year. I'm still here. I'm still here. So I originally thought that I was maybe too late to make this kind of video because we are technically like pretty much halfway through the month of January, which is wild. But the other day I did see that other people that I follow here on YouTube, they are still releasing like my favorite movies of 2023 or my favorite TV shows of 2023. So I thought, you know what, if they could still be talking about the movies and shows that they watched in 2023, I can too. So in today's video, I'm pretty much going to be talking about my year in review of 2023 on Letterboxd, and also just in general talking about my first year-ish on Letterboxd. So, all right. So for those of you guys who don't know what Letterboxd is, I'd be really surprised because I feel like if you watch this channel, I'm just going to assume you're probably into film, you're probably into TV shows, into just like general pop culture. And I do feel like Letterboxd is the place, it's the thing to be on if you like any of the above. But basically, Letterboxd is this website / app that you can use to track all of the movies that you're watching. You can also use it to track limited series, and they recently announced that they are going to be integrating TV tracking. I don't know how that's gonna look like. I don't know when that's gonna come, but I think it's supposed to happen this year. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, basically on Letterboxd, you can write your own reviews. You can read other people's reviews. You don't even have to write a review. You can just give a star rating, just mark that you watched a show. You can also make different kinds of lists. Like you could make a to watch list, or you can make a list of different kinds of rankings. Like there's so much you can do on Letterboxd. So in this video, we're gonna do a couple of things. One, we're gonna look at my year in Letterboxd 2023. If you are on that website, they give you an email with vague stats about your year in Letterboxd. So we're gonna look at that email. And then the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to get deeper into my stats. There's 3 different tiers if you have a Letterboxd account. There's the free tier, there's the pro tier, and then there's the patron tier. So I have a pro tier, and by having the pro tier, you get more detailed stats about the movies that you've watched, the actors, the directors, different kinds of things. So we're gonna look at that. And then at the very end of this video, I'm just gonna be sharing some like takeaways from my year on Letterboxd. And then I'm also going to be sharing like my personal media consumption goals going into 2024. So yeah, that's what we're doing in this video. You can literally just like have me on babbling in the background while you mill about doing whatever it is that you're doing today. But here we go. Letterboxd year in review for Steffi. That's me. Okay, so your 2023 in film by the numbers. I, according to this email, logged 133 movies, just specifically in 2023, which that is a lot for me. I feel like probably on average, I would maybe watch about like 10 to 15 movies a year. So 133 movies in a year is like a lot for me. I reviewed 223 movies. And then I also watched 271 hours of media. So, wow. Okay, so my most, oh God, what a pair. My most watched actor of 2023 was Cate Blanchett. And if you follow me on Twitter, or if you listen to my podcast that I co-host, it's called Diva Dailies, a podcast where we deconstruct divas on film, TV, and in music. You will know this, but when did I start? I think I started around like March or April. I did a full-on Cate Blanchett actor deep dive where I went on her Wikipedia page and I watched every single movie that she's been in, with the exception of, you know, voice acting in animated films or narrating a documentary. I didn't do like any of her voice work, but if she was like actually in the movie, even if she's like only in it for 2-3 minutes, I watched it. We'll see in a bit, but that ended up being about like 54 12-ish movies. So yeah, she was my most watched actor of 2023. And then my most watched director was Todd Haynes. And we can all guess which movie prompted me to go on this wonderful film journey. But yeah, I watched every single Todd Haynes movie. I think it's about like 13 or 14 movies. This is the first time I've ever done an actor deep dive or a director deep dive. Like, I've never made the effort of like sitting down and committing and saying, I'm going to watch every single movie that this person has been in, or I'm going to watch every single movie that this person directed. I've never done that before, but I think I kind of spoiled myself by having them be my first. But yeah, oh gosh, Todd Haynes. Justice for May December. Okay, so my highly rated 2023 movies: Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Past Lives, and May December at 4.5. This is an interesting fact. My most watched week of 2023 was April 17th to the 23rd, where I watched 9 movies. Holy, that's a lot. That's a lot for me. I guess my most watched day of 2023, like on average, is a Friday. That makes sense. Oh, my first watched movie of 2023 was Whitney Houston's biopic, I Want to Dance with Somebody. That was rough. I mean, the movie was like mid, but the journey itself to getting to the movie theater. So for those of you guys who don't know, I moved to the Philippines and I'm specifically living in the province area of the Philippines, and there is no movie theater here. The nearest movie theater is 3 hours away. That's one-way driving. And when you're driving at like for a large chunk of it, the road is like this, like it winds and weaves, and it's very like, I was getting car sick. And so when I went to watch the Whitney movie on the way back, so this was like evening, it's like 10 p.m. at night. It's gonna take us about 3 hours to get back to the house. We were on this winding road in the dark, and I literally threw up in the car because that's like how sick and nauseous I was feeling. So whenever I like see this movie poster, I honestly don't even think about the movie. I just think about how I drove 3 hours one way and 3 hours back and threw up on the way home. Like, that's what I think about. So yeah, that was a nice first watch of 2023. But then the last movie that I watched of the year was The Holdovers. One of my favorite movies as well. I think I gave it a 4.5 as well. I don't know why it didn't pop up here. Maybe they only give you like the first 3 movies that you gave a 4.5, but love The Holdovers. Oh my gosh. If you are looking for a movie that's like a warm, cozy hug, watch The Holdovers. Also a really great holiday movie. So if you didn't manage to watch it this past holiday season, and maybe you're kind of over watching holiday movies in general because it's now January, towards the end of 2024, make sure you add The Holdovers to like your holiday watch list. I would say it's an essential holiday, modern day classic now. But yeah, The Holdovers. Is that it? Oh, okay. My diary milestone. So my 50th movie that I watched was Elizabeth the Golden Age, and that's because I was in the middle of my Cate Blanchett deep dive. And then my 100th movie that I logged was All That Heaven Allows. That's a movie that was directed by Douglas Sirk. It stars Rock Hudson and Jane Wyman. And the reason why I watched that movie is because I was in the middle of my Todd Haynes deep dive. He directed a film called Far From Heaven. And I knew going into Far From Heaven that a large inspiration for that film, for the look of that film especially, was All That Heaven Allows. So before watching Far From Heaven, I made sure to watch All That Heaven Allows. So yeah, that's why it's my 100th, and I'm really glad I did because it's a very, very good movie and it's gorgeous. Oh my God. Gorgeous movie. These are always fun. My most watched theme was moving relationship stories, and my most watched nano genre were feelings, tragic, sympathy. Checks. Okay, so yeah, that's like general stats. If you're on Letterboxd, you should have gotten an email like this. But now let's go a little deeper into my stats. So I'm now on my profile. You can follow me on Letterboxd. I'm at INN_MHO, just like on Twitter/X, Instagram, YouTube, in my humble opinion. Everything is linked right here if you're interested. The pro account is, I think, $19 a year. And then The patron account, which is like the highest tier, that's $50 a year. So yeah, I personally think it's worth it for me to at least get a pro account because I like looking at my stats and stuff like this. And yeah, $20, I can do that. Okay, so here we are, 2023, Steffi's year in film. Here we go. Okay, see, you could see a little bit more. There we go, there's the holdovers. Okay, so my highest rated films, my 4.5s were Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Past Lives, May December, and then there's the holdovers. And then my 4 stars I gave were Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Elemental. Underrated. I know there was like a narrative at one point when that movie first came out, like, oh, Elemental, a flop. Is it the best Pixar movie? No, but it is a very, very, very good Pixar movie. And especially if you are a child of immigrants, like, ooh, you're gonna go through it while watching that movie. And then I also gave 4 stars to Beef, which is not a movie, it's a limited series. And I really enjoyed that show. Films logged, 133. I guess on average, I watch about 11 movies per month. Okay. We already talked about milestones. Oh, okay, here we go. My most watched movies of 2023 were Carol, May December, and Tar. The reason why I watched Carol 4 times, aside from it being like a masterpiece, is we did 3 episodes about Carol on Diva Dailies, the podcast that I host. I just had to watch it again for research, but that's why it's there 4 times. May December I watched when it literally first came out, and then I watched it again with my dad, and then Tar I watched twice. Once when I was trying to watch every single Oscar movie before the Oscars, and then the second time was when I was doing my Cate Blanchett deep dive. Ooh, also forgot to check here. I think there's a way, oh, you could see, okay. So see here how it says like, these are like the highest rated projects that came out specifically in 2023. I'm interested to see like older. Okay, so this includes my highest rated projects that didn't necessarily come out in 2023, but I ranked them in 2023. So Tar, I bumped up to 5, Carol, 5. I watched The Talented Mr. Ripley for the first time this year, and woo, that is a movie. That's a very, very, very good movie. If you guys liked Saltburn, or if you watched Saltburn and maybe were a bit underwhelmed by that and you haven't seen The Talented Mr. Ripley, I highly recommend you watch The Talented Mr. Ripley. I think the screenplay for The Talented Mr. Ripley is a lot stronger than for Saltburn. At times I felt like Saltburn was a bit random, but yes, Talented Mr. Ripley. Just some other movies here. I gave After Sun 4.5, Banshees 4.5, Blue Jasmine, which I watched for the first time, a 4.5, Notes on a Scandal, that's a movie, 4.5, and oh, you guys are gonna be proud of me. I watched for the first time the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogy series. I'd seen Fellowship of the Ring before, but then never continued because I didn't really feel the need to. But because I was on my Cate Blanchett journey, I ended up watching the entire Lord of the Rings franchise and the Hobbit franchise, and that was a very big pop culture blind spot, so I'm happy I did that. Okay, so these are like genres, countries, and languages. My most watched genre is drama, which checks. But I also think too, like, drama is such a all-encompassing kind of genre. Like, something could be considered a genre, but then also this, and also this, and also this. So it makes sense that drama is my most watched genre. At 89 films, wow. Comedy, 31. Romance, 28. Music, I'm really surprised, I only 11. But okay. I watched the most films from America, and then second is the UK, and then third is Germany, and fourth is Australia. Got a little Ireland representation there at the bottom. Okay, themes and nano genres. So this is gonna be a bit of a read, isn't it? My most watched theme of 2023 was Emotional Life of Renowned Artists. And then the second is Passion and Romance. And then the third is Moving Relationship Stories. And then in terms of nano genre, the top is Feelings, Tragic, Sympathy. Then the second one is Sweet Marriage Loves, and then the third one is Emotion, Sympathy, Melodrama. So I'm really just like into feeling deep emotions. But those are my most watched, but what was my highest rated? This is when things flip a little bit. Well, here we go. My highest rated theme, erotic relationships and desire. Second, emotional LGBTQ relationships, and then the third, passion and romance. Well, Okay. In terms of nano genre, my highest rated nano genre was emotion, poetry, and passionate. Then feelings, erotic, desire, and then third was emotional, passion, and beauty. I want to know, like, what is the difference between emotion and emotional at Letterboxd? You know, I think this is probably largely because of Carol, because I watched it 4 times. Let's see. Let's look in. See, I told you, but Carol and Blonde stars. We like this. Okay, so like I said, my most watched star was Cate Blanchett, and according to this number, that's 54 films. Wow. My gosh. Then my next most watched star was Julianne Moore, and that makes sense in the context of Todd Haynes because she's been in, like, I'm trying to think. Let's do a quick test. Safe, Far From Heaven, I'm Not There, Wonderstruck, and May December. I think she's been in 5 total Todd Haynes movies. And then she was also in An Ideal Husband with Cate Blanchett. What is the 7th? I'm missing something. Oh my god, the shipping news! The shipping news! Oh, the shipping news. We won't get into that. But yes, that's another movie that she starred in with Cate Blanchett. And then Hugo Weaving, Ian McKellen, Ian Holm, Orlando Bloom. Who's this? Jed Brophy? Okay, well, I don't remember who he was, but that's all because of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I always, like, love these random people that you don't know. Like, I don't know who this Katie Jackson is, but apparently she was in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, so good for her. Love that she made it in here. And then James Urbaniak, okay, he was in Oppenheimer, Wonderstruck, Where'd You Go, Bernadette, and The Fabelmans. I recognize the name, but no shade, I don't remember seeing his face in any of those movies. So, there's that. And then Rooney Mara. Rooney Mara is someone who, I was talking about this on our Carol episode, but Rooney Mara is someone who I didn't realize I've seen a good chunk of her movies because I never actually go to watch those movies for her. Like, she just ends up being in movies that I want to watch. So, like, at the beginning of 2023, when I was trying to watch every single Oscar movie, I watched Women Talking. And I was like, oh my god, it's Rooney Mara. And then same thing when I watched Carol. I didn't realize that Rooney Mara was in that movie. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's Rooney Mara. And then also she pops up in several of Cate Blanchett's movies as well. So Carol, obviously, but she's also in a Terrence Malick movie called Song to Song. They don't share any scenes together, but she's in that movie with Cate Blanchett. And then she's also in Nightmare Alley. They only share one scene. They were Carol baiting us. And I literally wanted to scream when I realized that they only shared one scene. Okay, directors. So I watched 13 Todd Haynes movies. My second most watched director was Peter Jackson because of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Martin Scorsese was my third because of The Aviator, and also I watched Killers of the Flower Moon. Malcolm D. Lee, fun fact, I think he's the cousin of Spike Lee. I watched 2 of his movies because we did an episode about The Best Man Holiday on Diva Dailies, so I had to watch The Best Man and then The Best Man Holiday. David Fincher, I watched Curious Case of Benjamin Button and Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Warwick Thornton, that's what I love about doing actor deep dives, is you get introduced to, or you finally get exposed to a director that you should have watched by now, but you haven't. Warwick Thornton is the former, where I'd never heard of him before, but he's an Australian director, and he directed a segment in this movie that Cate Blanchett was in called The Turning. That's like an Australian film. And then he also, in 2023, he directed Cate Blanchett in a film called The New Boy. But yeah, that was a new discovery for 2023. Joe Wright, Wes Anderson. This is really embarrassing to admit, I had never watched a Wes Anderson movie before until 2023. The first Wes Anderson movie I watched was The Life Aquatic of Steve Zissou, because Cate Blanchett was in it. I really liked it. I was really surprised when reading reviews for that at the time, especially that people were like, meh. But I actually really liked that. And then I ended up watching Asteroid City when I went back to California in June. I did not like that. I was like, what is this? But yeah, Wes Anderson. Watched Terrence Malick for the first time last year. And then Steven Spielberg. That was because of The Fabelmans, and then also Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, because Cate Blanchett was in it. And that wig was really difficult to sit through. Oh, my most liked review. God, The fact that my most liked review is freaking Bangers. So Bangers is a short film that Cate Blanchett was in, came out the year 1999, and that was directed by her husband. But what was so funny about trying to track down Bangers is I couldn't find it anywhere online. Like, I tried looking it up on different websites, couldn't find it. I tried looking it up on YouTube, couldn't find it. So then I think I just like Googled Bangers Cate Blanchett short film, and one of the first links that popped up was a link to a Cate Blanchett fan page. So that's how I watched it, on an Instagram fan page for Cate Blanchett. But yeah, I gave it a 1.5 because that movie was, it was kind of weird. It was kind of weird. I'll leave it at that. And yeah, this is pretty. All the films that I watched in 2023, it's like a nice little display of all of the movie posters. Wow, look at that. But yeah, so that was my year in Letterboxd in 2023. I think one of my big takeaways from my first year on Letterboxd and just my movie media consumption in 2023 was, one, logging everything on Letterboxd made my media consumption feel a bit more purposeful. I think because we live in a time where there is so much content available to us on like multiple different platforms, and we could watch it in so many different ways. Like we just end up like mindlessly scrolling or mindlessly watching things. We click here, we click there. It all feels very ephemeral. But what I liked about being able to log at least like the movies and the limited series that I was watching on Letterboxd is it made the experience of watching it feel tangible and concrete. Even though like I obviously like I can't hold it in my hands, just seeing a record of all of what I watched, especially by the end of the year, it made me feel like, oh yes, that happened. Like maybe just for me personally, like I like having a record of everything that I watch. I like having the receipts, and especially with having a pro account, I like getting my stats at the end of the year. So yeah, that was my first takeaway. And then my second takeaway, going off of that note that I just said, is it's just nice to have a record of everything that you watched. I think it's so easy, especially like I've been saying, like especially since it's so easy to just like mindlessly consume so much, you kind of forget what you watched. And so when you have a record of it, you're like, wow, I did watch a lot. So again, want to make clear that this is not an ad. I'm just like sharing with you like my personal thoughts. Okay, but if Letterboxd is ever interested, hi. The third takeaway, this is more of a me thing, but my third personal takeaway based off of like how I consumed my media in 2023 is I am realizing that I am very like list goal oriented, but especially when it comes to what I'm going to watch. My first taste of doing that was when I was trying to watch every single movie that was nominated at the Oscars. I actually made a video about that, so if you're interested in watching it, I'll link it up here. But yeah, I really enjoyed the experience of doing that, and especially when it came time to watching the Oscars, like I just felt more emotionally invested because I had watched all of the Best Picture nominees, all of the movies that were in the acting category and directing category and writing category. So yeah, I found it very rewarding. And then yeah, doing my Cate Blanchett filmography deep dive and Todd Haynes filmography deep dive, where you have a list of these are the movies that she's in and these are the movies that he directed. It just, everything feels a little bit more focused and streamlined. This might be a hot take, and maybe this is also me like trying to like convince myself, see, it's not that bad here. So I live in an area, like the part of the Philippines that I'm in, like I said earlier, like there's no movie theater here, okay? And because there's no movie theater here, this pressure that I kind of like put on myself, or this like sense of like urgency of I need to watch everything, like I need to stay on top of everything, like what's the latest movie that just came out, I got it, oh I'm falling so behind, like all of that is gone because like I just don't have access to a movie theater anymore. So because of that, I kind of like this past year had to figure out a way to incentivize myself to stay engaged in film and in limited series, and television's a bit debatable, but let's just stick to film. I think because not as much was available to me and I didn't have as many options, and then I'm looking specifically at like a list of Cate Blanchett movies or a list of Todd Haynes movies. What I have to watch is like very specific. So I think watching things in that way with a bit more focus, a very clear, concrete goal, just like worked for me personally, rather than like watching random movies. But now, oh my god, this video is gonna be so freaking long. This mainly has to do, I feel like, with movies, but I guess there can be a bit of an overlap with TV. But my first goal is I want to continue being list/goal oriented. I really liked doing my actor deep dive with Cate Blanchett because through committing to watch all of her films, it exposed me to so many different directors, either like directors that I should have watched by now but hadn't, or directors that I had never heard of. So like I discovered Todd Haynes because of Cate Blanchett. Huge. I love Todd Haynes now. So yeah, there's that. And then another reason why I like doing the actor deep dive is because you can see an evolution in their career and in the roles that they play. And when you're like looking at their career and how they evolve like on screen, and you're like watching all of their movies back to back, you start to get a sense of the kind of on-screen persona that they've cultivated over the years, which is a really interesting idea to think about. So yeah, I really enjoy doing the actor deep dive. So going into 2024, I want to do more. I want to do another established actress like a Cate Blanchett. I haven't decided who yet, but I want to do that. I want to also do a actor deep dive with a star on the rise. So someone who's not quite established yet in their career, but their star is on the rise. I also want to do a deep dive with a classic Hollywood era star. I feel like I've said Cate Blanchett's name so many times in this video, but oh my god, you could make a drinking game out of it. But when I watched her in The Aviator, she plays Katharine Hepburn, and I was like, wow, I need to watch a Katharine Hepburn movie. So Katharine Hepburn might be it for me. I haven't quite committed to that yet, but yeah, I want to do like a classic Hollywood era deep dive actress journey. And then I also want to do a director deep dive journey like Todd Haynes. Todd Haynes, who we love so much. This is very ambitious, but I want to do a director like that I should know, like a staple director that I really need to know. I want to do that kind. And then I also want to do like a director deep dive with people who are a bit more like indie or unknown. And what's really rewarding about doing the director deep dives is similarly with the actors, you do see an evolution, but also, when you watch movies that are directed by a single person, you start to notice patterns, either patterns in their visual style, patterns in the kinds of stories they tell, patterns in the characters that are at the center of their story, and then patterns in themes that pop up in their filmographies. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That was the end of my notes, but I know it's really long, but I've been babbling probably here for I don't know how long, but that was basically my year of film in 2023. For the longest time, I used to say I was more of a TV person than a movie person, but I really do feel like in 2023, because it's this strange thing where like, because I don't live near a movie theater anymore, I don't know if like that kind of made me more attracted to watching movies. It might also be the fact that I feel a little bit burned out when it comes to TV. But I think another element too is Letterboxd. I really feel like in 2023, I became more of a movie person than a TV person. And I think the older that I'm getting, I feel like I'm getting more into film than television, which is wild because I used to always say like TV over film, which there really shouldn't be like that kind of fight, like which one is better. But yeah. 2023, I became more of a film girly. That's pretty much the end of my spiel here. I know this was long and I know I've been babbling quite a bit, but hopefully this was kind of interesting to listen to. Again, I just want to emphasize this video is not an ad for Letterboxd. I was just merely using this video as a way to share with you guys like some of the stuff that I watched in 2023 and also to share like what my Letterboxd experience was like. I would say overall 5-star experience. Highly recommend getting on Letterboxd. You can follow me. I'm at INN_MHO on Letterboxd and all other social media websites. And if you follow me, I'll probably follow you back too. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't know when the next video will be out, but I am trying to get on the video essay train. So Stay tuned for that. But I hope you guys are having a great 2024 so far. I hope it's been everything that you've wanted it to be. And if not, like, that's okay. We still got time. The year's only just begun. So thank you so much for watching. As always, everything I said, just my own personal thoughts and all my humble opinion. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.